DTE Energy.
And you are watching our live coverage of the Mackinac Policy Conference right here live from the Grand Hotel. I'm Christy McDonald. Thanks so much for joining us. If you've just tuned in on myvote.org, we appreciate it, or any one of your PBS stations around the great state of Michigan. And indeed, it is a wonderful evening here. Things are just getting started behind us, as you can hear from some loud talking and the music, right, Chris? I have here with me at the big desk Chris Christoff. He's a Lansing correspondent with Bloomberg. Thanks so much for joining us. So why don't you, we were talking a little bit earlier about some of the issues facing Detroit in terms of downsizing some of the neighborhoods, and you just wrote a very large article about the state of lighting in the city. Can you go ahead and talk to us a little bit about what your idea was behind the article and kind of fill in our viewers?
Well, I didn't break the story. It was actually broken by Detroit 143, this nonprofit project by a couple of former Detroit Free Press writers. But I took the story and I thought this is, if anything, sort of symbolizes what Detroit is going through in terms of downsizing. It's what you do with streetlights. I mean, 40% of the streetlights don't work there now. There are 88,000 of them in the city. And they've been ripped off by thieves. They've just been burned out. The city hasn't replaced them. But the city has to figure out what areas of the city it's going to light and what areas it's not. I mean, they have, what, a third of the population they did in the 1950s. And I mean, Detroit, many people don't know this, of how geographically large Detroit is. As we said, you could fit San Francisco, Buffalo, and Boston within the confines of Detroit and still have a little bit of room, but in a population of only 713,000. So what areas are you going to light? Now the plan that the mayor is putting forth would somehow strategically light certain areas of the city and upgrade the lighting. And the really important thing about this is that there are large swaths of the city that aren't lit now.
The infrastructure is old, too.
It's very old. Some of it's 80 years old. They say they use 1920s technology. And so it's in dire need of upgrading with more energy-efficient lights, brighter lights. Frankly, if you could clear away some of the trees in front of some of the lights, it would help a lot. So they really have to completely reconfigure that lighting system to fit a much smaller population.
We were just talking to Carla Henderson, and she was talking about the decision-making process that they have to go through in terms of these neighborhoods, and this is no easy task to figure out which neighborhoods you're basically essentially going to leave and deciding not to turn the lights back on to.
That's right, and not provide some services to it. When you have some areas that are a square mile in size that are 80% unpopulated. I mean, so many parcels. I mean, it's said that if you added up all of the vacant properties and vacant land in Detroit, it would equal almost 40 square miles.
It's staggering.
And so the trick is, how do you gradually clear out areas that are virtually vacant now and redevelop them? I mean, we're talking about urban farming and talking about commercial development. I don't know where it's all going to go or how they're going to get there, but somehow they have to get there.
It's going to be a process. Tell me real quick in the 30 seconds we have left, what are some of the headlines that you're looking to come out of the conference here? What are you looking for?
Well, I'm really looking for what ideas that they do have for the city, workable ideas, and how they want to get around the fact that in a way you have two Detroits. You have a lot of optimism over development, commercial ideas.
A lot of big business here today.
Big
a lot
business,
of people talking about
that. A lot of innovators.
Right.
You talk about young people moving back to the city because it's affordable. So you have that surge happening. On the other hand, you have a city that's just awash in poverty and blight and problems. And so how you try to deal with those two and make a city that's going to repopulate itself. That's really the key issue, getting people moving back to Detroit.
And Detroit has really taken a center stage here at the conference this year, I believe.
Absolutely, it is front and center this time.
Okay, all right, Chris Christoff, thanks so much for joining us, the Lansing correspondent from Bloomberg. We appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.
All right.